Well, hello there, folks. It's Ted from Immersion, and look what I have right here. That's right, Volo's Guide to Monsters is out. Well, I should preface that it's out in pre-release. The official release date for this book is the 14th of November, but if you have access to a Wizards Play Network store, you can go ahead and pick this up today, the 4th. Well, probably by the time you're seeing this, it's the 5th. Also, what you're seeing here is the collector's edition exclusive cover of Volo's Guide to Monsters. There is another version that just kind of looks like your traditional D&D book with similar art, like something like Hoard of the Dragon Queen or something like that. But this is custom-made art that you can only get from a local game shop. So Wizards went out of their way to kind of encourage you. I will say, I'll let you guys know. You can buy this probably on Amazon right now, pre-order it, get it prime shipped to you in 2 days for around $30, maybe $35. MSRP for this in the store is $49.95. So you're gonna spend more if you want to get it early. So you're kind of paying for early access, but in this case, you're also paying for the super awesome custom cover with this Mind Flayer. You can check out the back. Also has some more Mind Flayer and the D&D ampersand logo. But that's not what this is about. This is a What's New guide. So, folks, as I do in my typical What's New fashion, I'm going to go through literally everything that's new in this book. Buckle up. It's going to be a long one because everything is new. So, let's crack the spine here. Volo's Guide to Monsters with a Kieran. What do we have? Something that you should always check in the front of every D&D book that you ever own is the disclaimer that's right here next to the cover art. So I'm going to read you this one. Wizards of the Coast does not vouch for, guarantee, or provide any promise regarding the validity of the information presented in this volume by Volotham Gedarm. Do not trust Volo. Do not go on quests offered by Volo. Do not listen to Volo. Avoid being seen with him for risk of guilt by association. If Volo appears in your campaign, your DM is undoubtedly trying to kill your character in a manner that can be blamed on your actions. The DM is probably trying to do that anyway, but with Volo's appearance, you know for sure. We're not convinced that Elminster's commentary is all that trustworthy either, but he turned us into flumps the last time we mentioned him in one of these disclaimers. So, a little bit about the book here. Got your whole kind of the breakdown of it. It's broken up into 3 chapters. It's broken down into basically a lore section, a player race section, and then a bestiary. The lore section is cool expanded knowledge, really good stuff for building your own D&D 5e campaign, or, any campaign, but you want more knowledge on, say, kobolds or beholders or something like that. It's a lot of lore, and I'll go into that as we get a little bit further. It's really cool stuff. Then there's 7 player character races and 6 kind of monstrous PCs. Then you have about over 100 new monsters with stat blocks, and then a couple of beasts and NPCs. So, we have this preface here by Volo himself. Notes from Elminster to the Open Lord of Waterdeep. This is kind of Elminster's notes on Volo's book here. Chapter 1, Monster Lore. It's broken down into Beholders, Giants, Gnolls, Goblinoids, Hags, Kobolds, Mind Flayers, Orcs, Yuan-Ti. Again, this is a What's New guide. So, we have some information on Beholders here, different types of Beholders, Hives, Eye Tyrants, Death Tyrants, some cool different designed Beholders. This is new, so I'm going to go over this. This is tables determining Beholders. Do you want to make a custom Beholder? The diameter of their body, their skin color, texture, eye color, their iris shape, keyhole, wave, double iris, their size, the eye stalk texture, eye stalk shape, mouth shape and size, the size of their shape of their teeth, personality traits, bonds, flaws, and ideals for Beholders, and then names. Information on how to run Beholders. There's a cool anglerfish underwater Beholder. How to deal with them in combat, out of combat, their different rays. Again, you're going to see notes like this from Volo. You see that? Notes like this from Volo and Elminster throughout the book. Again, here's kind of a plant-like Beholder. Then they have variant abilities down here, which again is new options and things you can add to your Beholder if you want. stuff about lairs, and what's awesome is all of these have really cool, full, drawn-out lairs. So this is a beholder lair. Check that out. There are full color maps like that for all of the kind of creatures that I mentioned there at the beginning. Stuff on what kind of treasure you'll find in the various areas for that. So it talks about, you know, what kind of stuff you'd find for a beholder. So we'll move on. Then there's minions and pets. What kind of minions? There's tables here for lesser minions, greater minions, and pets for beholders. Then there's the Xanathar Guild. This Xanathar, if I recall, is the beholder that lives under Waterdeep that kind of runs the Thieves Guild, and this is kind of more information on him. Then we go on to giants. So what do we have on giants? We got actually, there's a glossary right here in the middle. This is giant to common. A couple of words like honor is rang in giant, so you can have a little fun with that if you want to throw some giant stuff. Representative giant phrases. What is your tribe and rank? And then there's information, you know, like little phrases there. Stuff to find in a giant's bag. This is actually more established in Storm King's Thunder. You can find percentile champion roll for that. Lifespans of giants. Again, bonds, traits, flaws, and ideals for giants. Not seeing a lot of interesting stuff on the ordning. Some really pretty art of what looks like a Remoraz fighting a storm giant, I'm guessing. Hill giants. There's, again, a lot of cool lore on all these characters, or all these types of monsters, rather. Alright, so we're on to gnolls. So it talks a little bit about cultists of Yeenoghu, and kind of like the day in the life, like a diary of what happens, basically the slow de-evolution of people into insanity that is granted by Yeenoghu. Again, there's some more cool art here. This is an excerpt from the 100 Years' War on defeating gnolls. Again, here we go. Gnoll cultists. Features, traits, ideals, bonds, flaws. Here's some gnoll names. Here's some information on the different, creating your own gnoll warband. There's actually tables. Again, this is kind of washed out just because of the lighting, but there's tables here. Rolling tables, chants for gnolls, but this is, you want to build your own gnoll warband. Figure out what would be in the warband. Sorry, my phone is vibrating. Turn that down. So, next up we have goblinoids. Some information on goblin gods. We've got status symbols for different, like, base goblins. Goblin bosses, what a nilbog is. We'll get more into that later. Lairs. Actually, there was no gnoll lair, now that I think about it. But gnolls are typically nomadic, so that makes sense. Then we go into bugbears and hobgoblins. Hobgoblin rankings. There's some more art. Bugbear special forces. There's a goblinoid war camp map right there at the top. So, and I'll have, if you guys are watching this far and you want to skip ahead, I'll have annotations probably on the side and timestamps at the bottom if you want to skip ahead to something. Then we have hags, some cool hag art. Hags, traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Hag names. Hags ride in style. Check out the hag vehicles. There's like a skull car, a cauldron with chain legs, and a weird bird's nest thing. Trying to figure out how that actually works, but there's mounts and vehicle section here for the different types of hags. Talk about the metamorphosis to become a hag. Covens, coven spells. Again, there's alternative coven spells. Lair actions for hags, and then again, you've got a skull lair, a tree lair, and a ship lair for different hags. Hag minion table, objects that hags might have. Above and beyond the items of obvious value a hag has accumulated, they have a few bizarre items. And here's the table. So, let's pick number 2. The leathery, preserved head of a dwarf. Anyone who holds its 5-foot-long beard can see through its eyes. Cool little, kind of almost trinkety type stuff, but, you know, much more dark and grotesque. Then we have kobolds. Some cool kobold art here. stuff about the gods of the kobolds, kobold names, how to determine scale color for kobolds, stuff about Urds, the winged kobolds, and their scale patterns. Their tactics. Check out how crazy the kobold lair is. Look at that. Talk about in-depth series of tunnels and caves, networks, and things like that. It talks about, you know, what is in the lairs. That's pretty much it. Then we're going to move on to Mind Flayers. Spellcasting for Mind Flayer Scions. Again, Ceromorphosis, the process of becoming a Mind Flayer. Here's an Elder Brain up here being pulled by some Quaggoths. Traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Mind Flayer names. Some weird-ass anatomy of a Mind Flayer here. And then again, look at how intricate and, like, even the art style, like, this just looks cleaner, like it's a Mind Flayer, you know? Treasure. Oh, there are new magic items for Mind Flayers only. Or Mind Flayer Thralls. But your DM, or you as a DM, might want to repurpose these a little bit to tweak them, to add them to your campaign. So we've got the Mind Blade. This is any sword, rare, requires attunement by a by a specific individual. In this case, a Mind Flayer or a Thrall of a Mind Flayer. In the hands of any other creature, the Mind Flame functions as a normal sword. In the hand of its intended wielder, the Mind Blade is a magic weapon that deals an extra 2d6 psychic damage to any target it hits. There is the Mind Carapace armor, heavy armor. A non-magical suit of heavy armor can be turned into a Mind Flayer, or can be turned by Mind Flayers into Mind Carapace armor. Only one creature can attune to it. While worn, the Mind Carapace armor functions like normal armor of its kind. However, the intended wearer, if it's the intended wearer, it grants advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, and makes its wearer immune to the frightened condition. That would be a really cool set of armor. It gives you basically gnomish cunning, I think it's called, and immunity to fear. The Mind Lash, which is a whip. In the hands of an Illithid, this magic whip strips away a creature's will to survive, as it also strips away flesh, dealing an extra 2d4 psychic damage to any target it hits. Any creature that takes psychic damage from a Mind Lash must succeed on a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw, or have disadvantage on Wisdom, Intelligence, and Charisma saving throws for a minute. You can repeat that save at the end of each of your turns, ending the effect. That is only attunable by a Mind Flayer. And a Shield of Farsight. A Mind Flayer skilled at crafting magic items creates a Shield of Farsight by harvesting an eye from an intelligent humanoid and implanting it on the shield. As long as the eye is on there, whereupon the Mind Flayer can give the shield to a thrall or hang it on a wall in its lair. As long as the shield is on the same plane of existence as its creator, the Mind Flayer can see through the shield's eye, which has dark vision out to 60 feet. While peering through this magical eye, the Mind Flayer can use its Mind Blast action as though it were standing beside the shield. If it's destroyed, the Mind Flayer is blinded for 2d12 hours. And then they talk about how Mind Flayers augment their kind of thralls. They can give them claws, and then there's this Survival Mantle. A Survival Mantle is the equivalent of a non-magical... There's an augmentation encases portions of the wearer's shoulders, neck, and chest. It's the equivalent of a non-magical suit of half-plate armor. Takes as long to don and doff. Can't be worn with other kinds of armor. A creature wearing a Survival Mantle can breathe in any environment, including a vacuum, and has advantage on saving throws against harmful gases such as those created by the Cloud Kill spell, a Stinking Cloud, inhaled poisons, and the breath weapons of some dragons. The way that's written is there's no reason that you wouldn't be able to get that if you were to fight off Mind Flayers and discover Survival Mantle. There's no reason why you couldn't technically wear that. Then we've got Orcs. Some more information on other Orcish gods. Again, traits, ideals, bonds, flaws, names, lairs. Again, here's an Orcish stronghold. Check that out. Pretty cool. Trophies, Orc trophies. Again, morbid. 1d4 dwarf beards or d12 elf ears. Then we have Yuan-Ti. These are the snake people. Again, gods of Yuan-Ti. This is cool. So this is Yuan-Ti physical descriptions. Well, there's also Malazons, the weird kind of different variations of those. There's types 4 and 5 are listed here. And then here you can see body type, skin color, scale pattern, tongue color, eye color, snake head shape, arms for the Malazons, lower body, and the pureblood. unusual abilities here. So these are variations to add other things to your Yuan-Ti. Shedding their skin, spitting acid, traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, names, and then a Yuan-Ti temple. Sort of a ziggurat pyramid-style temple. And then at the end here, these are allies and minions for Yuan-Ti. So, that's it for the kind of bestiary lore section. Now we're on to player character races. The races we have, and some of these you may not want to listen to, but I'm going to tell you to listen up because they have changed some published races. So you've got Azamar, Furbolg, which we've already seen a preview of, Goliath, Kenku, Lizardfolk, Tabaxi, which are catfolk, and Tritons, which are underwater people. There are also monstrous races in Bugbear, Goblin, Hobgoblin, Kobold, Orc, and Yuan-Ti Pureblood. But let's start with the new races. So first off is Azamar. Holy shit, did they get changed. They are so much better now. Previously, Azamar were kind of okay. They were like a weird... They are sort of the inverse of a tiefling, so it made sense, but Wizards of the Coast has expanded tieflings significantly with Sword Coast Adventure Guide by adding feral tieflings, by adding winged tieflings, swapping out spells for tieflings, by adding the abyssal tiefling. So they've added quite a bit of things to them. So they went back and basically did the same thing to an Azamar. I'd also like to point out that what was published in the Dungeon Master Guide is not Adventure League legal because it's not an official published source, whereas I believe Volo's Guide to Monsters, and if any of you guys know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, every race listed in here is now in a published source, a source book, and is now considered Adventure League legal. So there's a lot more background information on Azamar. They have angelic guides and things. So what do you get? You'll get a lot of the same things, and then, oh my god, so many better things. +2 to your charisma. Same as always, they live up to about 160 years, around the same. They typically tend to be good. They're medium size, 30 feet walking speed, dark vision out to 60 feet. All standard Azamar so far. Celestial resistance, you have resistance to necrotic and radiant damage. Again, that's normal. Here's where it starts to get interesting. Healing Hands. As an action, you touch a creature and cause it to regain a number of hit points equal to your level. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again till you finish a long rest. Yes, that is sort of weak, but regardless of what your class is, you're getting a +2 charisma, and you have at minimum, and it's your character level. So whatever level you are, you can heal that many points. That's the way to potentially bring your dead allies back to life without having to make a medicine check. Taking somebody from 2 failed death saving throws to 1 HP by using your action. Awesome. Lightbearer, the light cantrip. They always knew the light cantrip, so they still have that. And you can speak, read, and write Common and Celestial. Then, there are 3 sub-races, which the flavor on these is just fantastic. I am just way, I'm geeking out and nerding out pretty hardcore over this book in general, but this Azamar change just makes me so... I need to change my pants. Anyway, that's besides the point. Protector Azamar are charged by the powers of good to guard the weak. They strike at evil wherever it arises. You get the point. They get a +1 to Wisdom on top of the +2 Charisma. So this is the most similar to the Azamar in the Dungeon Master Guide. Starting at 3rd level, you can use it in action to unleash your divine energy within yourself, and they give cool flavor too. Your eyes glimmer and 2 luminous incorporeal wings sprout from your back. This transformation lasts for a minute, or until you end it as a bonus action. During it, you have a fly speed of 30 feet, and once on each of your turns, you can deal extra radiant damage to one target when you deal damage with an attack or a spell. The extra radiant damage equals your level. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again till you finish a long rest. Again, Azamar Paladins and Clerics are supposed to be a thing. That pretty much sums it up right there. You just grow ethereal angel wings and you bamf over to somebody. By bamf, I mean fly. You swing your sword, you divine smite, and then you're adding additional radiant damage once a turn equal to your level. And that only gets better. And radiant is almost never resisted, so that's fantastic. Scourge Azamar. They're imbued with divine energy that blazes intensely within them. It's fueled by... The first one is desire to protect the weak. This one is a desire to destroy evil. So +2 charisma, +1 constitution, very good. Can go for all casting classes that use charisma, which is most. Bard, warlock, sorcerer, paladin, and yeah, bard, sorcerer, yeah, warlock, paladin. Yep. Starting at 3rd level, you can use your action to unleash the divine energy within yourself, causing a searing light to radiate from you, pour out of your eyes and mouth, and threaten to char you. Your transformation lasts for a minute, or until you end it as a bonus action. During it, you shed bright light in a 10-foot radius and dim light out to an additional 10 feet. At the start of each of your turn, you and each creature within 10 feet of you take radiant damage equal to half your level, rounded up. In addition, once on each of your turns, you can deal extra radiant damage to one target you deal damage with an attack or spell. The extra radiant damage equals your level. You're going to see that that's kind of a... all of these transformations that they get at 3rd level, you have the opportunity to once a turn to do radiant damage equal to your level when you hit with an attack or spell that does damage. This one, I like the +1 constitution is great, and I feel like they're kind of offsetting that almost by the fact that you deal damage to yourself, but you also have radiant damage to anybody within 10 feet, but you also deal it to yourself. And then lastly, even cooler, is the Fallen Aasimar. An Aasimar who's touched by dark powers as a youth that turns to evil in early adulthood and can become one of the Fallen. Which sucks, because this is also a great Paladin one. +2 charisma, +1 strength. You use your action to unleash divine energy within you, causing your eyes to turn into pools of darkness and 2 skeletal, ghostly, flightless wings to sprout from your back. The instant you transform, other creatures within 10 feet need to make a charisma saving throw. Charisma save, so difficult. 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your charisma mod, or become frightened until the end of your next turn. This transformation lasts a minute, and then during it, you can deal an extra necrotic damage equal to your level with any damage with an attack or spell. Fantastic. I love that update. Furbolg. I'll go over it. Oh, and there is, I guess I was reading it, but there's a little Aasimar image there in the bottom. Furbolg, we kind of already went over them, but I'll go over them anyway, because there was a preview released. So this is our first, and as of right now, our only +2 wisdom race. Furbolg are sort of a forest guardian, almost giant-y, fey, elfin mixture, if that makes sense. So, +2 wisdom, +1 strength, 30 feet of movement, medium size. You can cast Detect Magic and Disguise Self with this trait, using Wisdom as the ability modifier. Once you cast either spell, you can't cast it again until you finish a short or long rest. When you use this version of Disguise Self, you can seem up to 3 feet shorter than normal. They are around 7 to 8 feet tall, similar in height to Goliath, so you might want to shrink yourself down. As a bonus action, you can magically turn invisible until the start of your next turn. You take damage, make a damage, or force someone to make a so typical invisibility. You attack, make a damage roll, or force someone to make a saving throw. Once you use this trait, you can't get it back until you finish a short or long rest. You count as one size larger for determining carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift. And you have the ability to communicate in limited manner with beasts and plants. They understand the meaning of your words, though you have no ability to understand them in return. You have advantage on all charisma checks you make to influence them. You can speak, read, and write Common, Elvish, and Giant. Goliaths are in here. I thought that was a weird one. It's exactly the same as what's in the Elemental Evil Player's Guide. I checked. You don't get anything different. Same stat bumps. I'll just run through them quick anyway, since we're here. +2 strength, +1 con, proficiency in athletics, 30 foot movement speed, stone's endurance. Once per short rest, you can roll a d12, add your charisma modifier, and reduce damage you've taken by that amount. Count as one size larger for carrying, lifting, blah blah blah. You're acclimated to high altitude, above 20,000 feet. You're also naturally adapted to cold climates. You know, exactly the same. Why they put it in here, I don't know. Kenku, one of my favorite races. These are raven bird folk. They are in the monster manual as an enemy, but what do you get when you're playing a Kenku? Dex +2, Wisdom +1. You are medium sized, 30 feet of movement. You can duplicate other creatures' handwriting and craftwork. You have advantage on all checks made to produce forgeries or duplicates of existing objects. You get proficiency in 2 of the following: acrobatics, deception, stealth, or sleight of hand. And you can mimic sounds you have heard, including voices. A creature that hears the sounds you make can tell their imitations with a successful insight check opposed by your deception check. You can speak, read, and write Common and Orin, but you can only speak using your mimicry trait, meaning you can only kind of speak by mimicking other voices, sort of like a parrot, it sounds like. If you're playing a Kenku, there's a little role-playing section. If you're playing a Kenku, constant attempts to mimic noises can come across as confusing or irritating rather than entertaining. You can just as easily describe the sounds your characters make and what they mean. Be clear about your character's intentions unless you're deliberately aiming for inscrutable or mysterious. You might say, Snapper makes the noise of a hammer slowly and rhythmically tapping a stone to show how bored he is. He plays with his dagger and studies his Lord's Alliance agent sitting at the bar. Creating a vocabulary of noises for the other players to decode might sound like fun, but it can prove distracting and could slow down the game. We got lizard folk up next. A little lizard folk image there. These guys are pretty sweet. +2 con, which is great, and +1 wisdom, so a wonderful cleric race. Medium size, 30-foot walk speed, 30-foot swim speed. You get a bite. It can use it as an unarmed strike. If you hit with it, it does piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength mod. Cunning Artisan. This I thought was really cool, and it actually helps to give us some insight as DMs on how to go about harvesting things from creatures. As part of short rest, you can harvest bone and hide from a slain beast, construct, dragon, monstrosity, or plant creature of size small or larger to create one of the following items: a shield, a club, a javelin, or 1d4 darts or blowgun needles. To use this trait, you need a blade, such as a dagger, or appropriate artisan's tools, such as leatherworker's tools. You can hold your breath for 15 minutes at a time. You gain proficiency. There's a lot of these you gain proficiency with 2 skills. With 2 of the following: animal handling, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. So you pick those, 2 of those. Natural armor. You have naturally tough, scaly skin. When you aren't wearing armor, your AC is 13 plus your dex mod. You can use your natural armor to determine your AC if the armor you wear would leave you with lower AC, as the shield benefits applies as normal. Hungry Jaws. In a battle, you can throw yourself into a vicious feeding frenzy. As a bonus action, you can make a special attack with your bite. If the attack hits, it deals its normal damage, and you gain temporary hit points equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum of 1, and can't use this trait again until you finish a short or long rest. And you can read, write, and speak Common and Draconic. Next up is Tabaxi, which are cat folk. There's a little picture there for you. What do you get with these? These are probably, I'm going to say it right now, folks, Tabaxi winning for probably the best rogue race in the game. And I'll tell you why. Dex +2, Charisma +1. Charisma not necessarily needed for a rogue, but really all you need for a rogue is Dex. Medium size, 30-foot walk speed, dark vision. All solid things for a rogue. Then we come to feline agility. Your reflexes and agility allow you to move with a burst of speed. When you move on your turn in combat, you can double your speed until the end of your turn. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you move 0 feet on one of your turns. So let's think that through, folks. That's not once per short rest. That's not once per long rest. To get this back, all you have to do is just use a turn and not move at all. Now remember, dash doubles your current movement speed. If you have a 30-foot movement speed, and you start running, and you activate your feline agility, you now have 60 feet of movement. You're a rogue. At level 2, you can dash as a bonus action and move 120 feet. If you throw something like haste in there, where your movement speed is doubled, that first setup goes to 240 feet, and you're going to add another 240 feet to it. It's insane. Or another 120 feet to it. You get the point. Crazy stuff. Cat claws. Because of your claws, you have a climb speed of 20 feet. This is the first race in a player race that has climb speeds. So just as a point of fact, you can climb and swim. Any character can climb and swim. Unless there's some rough seas or something, you can swim, but swimming you move at half your movement speed. Climbing, you make athletics checks as you climb, or stop and use climbers kits and things like that, but making athletics checks allow you to move at half your movement speed rounded down. Tabaxi just get a climb speed of 20 feet, so you can just do it. As long as it's a climbable surface, you can just climb. What's great for a rogue? Being able to scale buildings without having to make checks. In addition, your claws are natural weapons, which you can use to make unarmed strikes. If you hit, you deal damage equaling 1d4 plus your strength mod, and it can be slashing instead of bludgeoning like it normally would be. And the coup de grace for this whole thing, you have proficiency in perception and stealth. Two of the best skills in the game, especially great for a rogue. And then you get common in another language of your choice. No brainer. Your DM allows it and you want to be a rogue, be a cat person. Also, I will point out there's a really cool section here, Tabaxi Obsessions and Tabaxi Quirks. You don't have to do these, but there's like for extra fun, you can add this. So you roll, it's a D8 and a D10. My curiosity, cat, is currently fixed on a mundane item, a location, a legend, or a tale, and some quirks. You never wear the same outfit twice unless you absolutely must. You're always in debt since you spend your gold on lavish parties for your friends. You have a minor phobia of water and hate getting wet. Just some fun little roleplay stuff. And lastly, we have Tritons. There's a Triton for you right here. These are Aquaman. Basically, there's a new spell in here as well, which I'll go over. So, Tritons, pretty interesting. They get a +1 to 3 stats. +1 strength, con, and charisma. Solid call. Again, a great paladin. They lived here around 200 years. Speed of 30 feet, but a swim speed of 30 feet, medium size. They can breathe air and water. A child of the sea, you can call on the elemental magic of air and water. Cast Fog Cloud with this trait. At 3rd level, you get Gust of Wind. At 5th level, you get Wall of Water, which we'll talk about. Once you cast a spell with this trait, you can't use it until you finish use it again until you finish a long rest. It's charisma based. Aquatic beasts have an extraordinary affinity with your people. You can communicate simple ideas with beasts that can breathe water. They can understand the meaning of your words, though you have no special ability to understand them in return. And Guardian of the Depths. Adapted to even the most extreme ocean depths, you have resistance to cold damage and ignore any drawbacks caused by a deep underwater environment. You can speak, read, and write Common and Primordial. And what does Wall of Water do? 3rd level evocation, 1 action, range of 60 feet. Has a material component of a drop of water. Concentration up to 10 minutes. You conjure up a wall of water on the ground at a point you can see within range. You make the wall up to 30 feet long, 10 feet high, and 1 foot thick, or you can make a ringed wall up to 20 feet in diameter, 20 feet high, and 1 foot thick. The spell vanishes when the wall ends. The wall space is difficult terrain. Any ranged attacks that enter the wall space have disadvantage on the attack roll, and fire damage is halved if the fire effect passed through the wall to reach the target. Spells that deal cold damage that pass through the wall cause the area of the wall they pass through to freeze solid. At least a 5-foot square section is frozen. Each 5-foot square section has an AC 5 and 15 hit points, reducing the frozen section to 0 hit points destroys it. When the section is destroyed, the wall's water does not fill it in. Alright, so that is it for the true player races. Then we have monstrous races, which at first glance I thought were kind of dumb, and then I started looking at them, and they all have something unique to them. So I thought that was pretty cool. So they have Rare, Mundane, Outcast, Ambassador, Friend, or Enemy. Basically, why would you be playing with a party as these monstrous races? And they have Monstrous Origin, why you're doing this. So, like, you are the victim of a curse or polymorph spell, or you were raised by humans, elves, or dwarves and have adopted their culture. So, we've got a lot of focus on the goblinoids, but we've got bugbears. +2 strength, +1 dex, medium size, 30 feet, dark vision. Basically, all these races have dark vision, too. Long-limbed, this is big. When you make a melee attack on your turn, you can your reach for it is 5 feet greater than normal. That is always on, folks. You always have an increase of 5 feet. If you are a polearm master, you now have a 15-foot reach. So think about that with Sentinel and polearm master. If anybody gets within 15 feet of you, around you in a circle, you can hit them with your polearm and then stop them in place. If you use that whole build. So that's pretty crazy. Not only that, but you have your count is 1 size larger for carrying capacity. You have proficiency in stealth. And if you surprise a creature and hit it with an attack on your first turn in combat, the attack deals an extra 2d6 damage. This is only usable once per combat. Speak Common and Goblin. Goblins. Dex increases by 2 and Constitution goes up by 1. Another great combination. Dex and Con. That's great. Small size, 30, but you still have a 30-foot walk speed, so that's great. Dark Vision is 60 feet. Fury of the Small. When you damage a creature with an attack or spell and the creature's size is larger than yours, you can cause the attack or spell to deal extra damage to that creature. The extra damage equals your level. Again, another level-based damage. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. And Nimble Escape, you can take the Hide or Disengage action as a bonus action on your turn. Again, those are things granted by Rogue, but that's a pretty cool little option for a little guy that can do, I mean, just flat out extra damage. I mean, think about that on top of a sneak attack. Or a smite, honestly. I mean, really, Dex and Con, you can go a lot. Yeah, Ranger could be pretty good. Disengage and Hide as a racial feature for a Ranger could be pretty solid. Or a Dex-based fighter. Some cool stuff. I mean, really, or any caster that uses Dex. Plus, you know, then you get to be a Goblin. That's kind of funny. Hobgoblin. Also another interesting combination. Constitution up by 2, Intelligence by 1. So an increase of Con by 2 and Intelligence by 1. Think about this as a caster. Some of the other stuff don't really fit with caster, but that's a pretty interesting combination for, say, like a wizard. Or, better yet, an Eldritch Knight fighter. Constitution increased by 2 and your Intelligence up by 1. A walking speed of 30 feet, medium size, 60 feet of dark vision. You are proficient with 2 martial weapons of your choice and with light armor. I did not read that before. That's pretty cool. 2 martial weapons of your choice and light armor could make being a wizard actually not a bad option. Saving Face, which is a cool little unique to Hobgoblin feature. Hobgoblins are careful not to show weakness in front of their allies, for fear of losing status. If you miss with an attack roll or fail an ability check or saving throw, you gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number of allies you can see within 30 feet of you. Maximum bonus of +5. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Now, from the way that's written, it says, if you miss with an attack, roll, ability check, or saving throw, you gain a bonus to the roll. So I guess that means upon failure, then you could potentially add up to a +5 to the roll. You speak Common and Goblin. Kobold. The first race we have that gives us a negative stat. +2 to Dex, and Strength reduced by 2. I think it's a little bit, they get kind of a bum deal on this, but they do have some pretty powerful abilities, so I kind of get it. Small size, still 30 feet movement, dark vision, 60 feet. Then you have Grovel, Cower, and Beg. As an action on your turn, you can cower pathetically to distract foes. Until the end of your next turn, your allies gain advantage on attack rolls against enemies within 10 feet of you. Or within 10 feet of you that can see you. Can't use this again until you finish a short or long rest. Pack Tactics, always on. You have advantage on attack rolls if there's one of your allies within 5 feet of the same creature, of a creature that is in, the allies incapacitated. So again, similar to a wolf, similar to a lion, things like that. You have an ally within 5 feet. Anything that would basically grant like a sneak attack situation. Ally within 5 feet of an enemy, you now have advantage on the attack rolls. But you also have sunlight sensitivity, so you have disadvantage on attack rolls and perception checks that rely on sight. When you the target of your attack or whatever you're trying to perceive is in direct sunlight. So potentially, Pack Tactics could offset the negativity of sunlight sensitivity, so you just have a straight roll. But I mean, again, not bad for a caster or someone that can stay at distance, not in direct sunlight. And you speak Common and Draconic. Then we have Orc. +2 to Strength, +1 Con, but a -2 to Intelligence. Medium size, 30 feet of movement, dark vision out to 60 feet. As a bonus action, you can move up to your speed towards an enemy of your choice that you can see or hear. You must end this move closer to the enemy than you started. So again, on every turn, you could just, as a bonus action, move up to your speed towards an enemy of your choice that you can see or hear. So you can still move with your regular movement of 30 feet, and then as a bonus action, move another 30 feet as long as you're closer to the enemy you were heading towards. So that's potentially a 60-foot movement every turn. Again, An Orc Barbarian would get a plus 10 feet to their movement, so that's an addition. That's an 80-foot move with just a bonus action. And if you're a Totem Barbarian, you don't get a ton of utility for your bonus action, so that's not bad. Menacing, you have proficiency in Intimidation. And Powerful Build, again, a lot of these guys have Powerful Build. You count as one size larger for carrying capacity, things you can lift, shove, push, or drag. And you can speak, read, and write, Common, and Orc. And lastly, a surprise sleeper hit for me, which is actually what made me go back and relook at all of these player races, or these monster races, Yuan-Ti Pureblood, or called a Pureblood for short. +2 Charisma, +1 Intelligence, so similar to a Tiefling. 30 feet of movement, medium size, dark vision is 60 feet. You have innate spellcasting. You know the Poison Spray cantrip. You can cast Animal Friendship an unlimited number of times with this spell. However, you can only target snakes. Starting at 3rd level, you can also cast Suggestion with this trait. Once you cast Suggestion with it, though, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Charisma is your magic, your spellcasting ability for these spells. Magic Resistance, you have advantage on saving throws against spells or other magical effects. And Poison Immunity, you are immune to poison and the poison condition. You can speak, read, and write Common, Abyssal, and Draconic. Super powerful player race. Got a caster, something like that. That's great. Height and weight tables for all of those, including the demon or the monster ones as well. So, you know, you want to roll for that, which is something they haven't really included. I don't think they included that for Genasi, or Genasi, however you pronounce it, but they did for these races. And then the last section here is the Bestiary, Chapter 3. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into these. I might show pictures and talk about them a little bit, but there's over 100 monsters here to go through, and we're already 40 minutes into this video. So, but I will talk about this. Brand new book. Just bought it. So far, binding is working, but check out that big old blot of ink that came there when I bought the book. Look at that. How annoying is that? This is a brand new book. So, thankfully it's only on that page. It didn't bleed through to the other side, and it didn't get on anything else, but still. So we got a Banderhob here. We got a nice spread of monsters from various types. You'll also see, if you're an old fan of D&D going years back, you'll see a lot of familiar faces, which I was proud to see. So Banderhobs, big old toad people created by hags. Challenge rating 5. As you can see by the picture, can swallow people. Barghests, a fairly common D&D staple, I'd say, for a while. Shape Changer, Fiend, has the ability to turn into wolves, goblins, has some pretty cool abilities. Innate Spellcasting, pretty cool. Challenge rating 4. We've got some new Beholders. We've got the Death Kiss, which some of these are insane. Like, a Death Kiss is made when a Beholder has a dream about losing blood. One of these things spawns from them. It's a Beholder that, as you can kind of see from this image here, instead of eye stalks, it has tentacles with like little sucker mouths that can drain your blood. A Gauth, or Goth, G-A-U-T-H, Death Kiss, challenge rating 10. I'm gonna call it Goth. Yeah. Challenge rating 6. These guys are made when someone tries to basically, one of the things, try to summon a spectator, and they goof up, and they get this thing, which is just designed, they just eat magic. And then the super adorable fan favorite of mine, the Gazer. These things are challenge rating a half, and they only have a body of 8 inches wide. They do have eye rays, but they're significantly weaker. I mean, they do have an eye ray that does 3d6, but there's a little stat block down here about them being a familiar, so you could potentially, if your DM allows it, get you to have a Gazer familiar, which would be pretty cool. They can mimic, they have the aggressive feature, they have bite that does like no damage. But what I think these are great for is playing a level 1 game when you have D&D veterans, and you start describing basically a Beholder to them, and it's just a Gazer. But they're like, what? We're level 1, there's no way we could be fighting a Beholder. And you're like, it's got 4 eye stalks. They're like, oh my god. And you're like, but it's only 8 inches wide. What? And it blasts you with an eye beam. Bodak. These are minions of Orcus. These guys are undead. Challenge rating 6. Sunlight hypersensitivity. When they're in sunlight, they take radiant damage, and they have disadvantage on stuff. but they have some similar things like Withering Gaze, and they also project an aura that does necrotic damage to anybody within 30 feet. Boggle, these are little fey guys, kind of like little gremlins. Challenge rating of an 8th. This thing is ridiculous. Catoblepas? It's a mixture of a buffalo, a dinosaur, a warthog, and a hippopotamus. It's a monstrosity, CR5, got a tail attack and a death ray, which is kind of cool. Cave Fisher, these guys, I've used these in my games. I used a homebrew one. But if you're playing Out of the Abyss, you're going to want to put these guys in there. They're a big part of the Underdark. They're kind of these clear, almost invisible cave scorpions that shoot out like a silk filament that they wrap around people and then pull them in and try to eat them. Jump them up with their claws. Chitinous, I think is how it's pronounced. This is a drow that's been kind of altered for weird purposes to sort of be a servant of Lolth. Originally, the drow were going to use these guys as servants, essentially. Lolth thought they were going to be servants to her. The drow never actually went through with that, so Lolth got pissed and now pits them against each other. And there's the true form, the Choldrith, which is these freaking terrifying spider people here. Ugh. Challenge rating 3. Cranium rats, again, also weird. These are rats with their skulls exposed. These are playthings and creations of mind flayers, or just things that might be living around the Elder Brain. And then there's a swarm of them. Darklings, again, more Fey-type people. Nothing too crazy to talk about with them. Deep Scion, the stuff of nightmares, aka a way to kind of put the Demogorgon kind of a sort of a situation, not Demogorgon, the demon, but the Stranger Things kind of Demogorgon, or there's something else, sort of almost like the breeder type vampires from Blade 2. But these guys are basically, this is a really cool concept. I thought it was like Displacer Beast because of the tentacles, but they're actually basically someone that was going to die at sea, and now they're kind of bonded to some sort of undersea, whether it be an evil god or a kraken. But basically you're given the option, you can surrender your body and soul and die, or surrender your body and soul or drown. And then if you choose that, then you get, they can also shape change, but you can turn into these nasty things. A couple of new demons, a Babel Demon, a Maw Demon, and a Shusuva, which is a demon hyena, granted to powerful gnolls. Devourer, another Orcus minion. You can kind of see in this chest cavity, there's a dude being absorbed. That's a thing they can do. New dinosaurs, super pumped about that. Dimetrodon, Brontosaurus, Deinonychus, Hadrosaurus, Quetzalcoatlus, Stegosaurus, and Velociraptors. Everything ranging from a quarter all the way up to a challenge rating of 5. A Dragoloth, which is a what is that? It's a half drow, half Glabrezu. So when a drow priestess mates with a Glabrezu and it goes well, you create this Dragoloth, which is a challenge rating 7 monster. These guys, super awesome. Fire newts. Check these guys out. They're medium-sized newts made out of fire. I like them. They're going to be in one of my campaigns because they're cool. And then there's their big kind of bird-like type creature that they ride on. Next page, we've got the Flail Snail and the Frog Hemoth. I talked about the Frog Hemoth before because they did an early reveal of that. It's just a terrifying giant frog monster. Flail Snail, really cool, because this little sidebar down here talks all about how you can use their shell to make cool stuff. So their shell is basically anti-magic, and it can also scintillate, similar to the robe of scintillating colors. It says their shell basically weighs 250 pounds, and an intact shell is worth about 5,000 gold. But skilled armor can make 3 shields that basically grants them this anti-magic ability that they have. And then after, I think, a month, it loses that ability. But it's the perfect base shield to then craft into a Spell Guard shield. The shield that reflects spells in the Dungeon Master Guide. It can also be used to make a row of scintillating colors. If you grind up the shell and mix it with the dye when you're making the robe, that would be a way to do that. So just cool to see in-lore ways to make magic items. A couple of new giants. Cloud Giant Smiling One, challenge rating 11. Fire Giant Dreadnought, double shield wielder, so a 21 AC because double shields. 14 challenge rating. Frost Giant Everlasting One, CR 12. Mouth of Grolanter, this is a hill giant that's just ravenous and just eats stuff like crazy. Mouth of Madness is the first ability here. Challenge rating 6. A lot of giants. Storm Giant Dreamwalker, CR 10. Storm Giant Quintessent, CR 16. Has crazy legendary abilities, legendary accents. Garrulon, these are guys I remember from old editions. 4-armed white monkeys, or kind of gorilla-shaped creatures. Nothing crazy. Then we got the Gnolls. We got the Flind, which is the super powerful Gnoll that has the... kind of see the flail here made of different skulls charged with fire energy. These can be... these are basically given these weapons by Yeenoghu, and they are able to use them. They all do different crazy abilities. Challenge rating 9. Then we've got Flesh Gnoll, Gnoll Hunter, and a Gnoll Witherling, which is basically just a cool skeletal Gnoll. That's awesome. We've got Grunns, which are these little frog people. They're not related to Bullywugs as far as I can tell anywhere in here. But they're basically small humanoid creatures that if you were to take a poison tree frog and turn them into a sentient creature, that's what these guys are. And they all have different poisons that do different things. Guard Drakes are published. Guard Drakes, you know, you guys are familiar with these if you've played Horde of the Dragon Queen or Rise of Tiamat. They're literally everywhere. Challenge rating 2, but what's cool is they added a special variety if you wanted to do chromatic Guard Drakes, where they all gain a resistance to a damage type and a different kind of movement speed, which I thought was neat. And you can kind of see down here a blue one and a green one, which is pretty neat. A couple of different hags. An Annis hag, this is one that focuses on terrorizing children. And a Behura hag, this is kind of an ice hag. Hobgoblin Devastator, this is just a hobgoblin that has spellcasting abilities. Challenge rating 4. And Hobgoblin Iron Shadow, which basically makes me think of Iron Fist. This is a hobgoblin monk. The Kirin, which is this kind of celestial, dragony, unicorn horse type thing. Challenge rating 12. They are just an all-around great, good creature. A good omen if you see these guys, and they have crazy healing and you know, defensive magic. So if you can get one on one of your sides for a big battle, things like Hero's Feast, Resurrection, that kind of stuff is at your access. A couple of different kobolds. Kobold Dragon Shield. These guys have just, you know, a little bit tougher than your average kobold. Kobold Inventor, which is a really cool one. You can kind of see he's got this little skunk backpack. But this whole section down here in these two tables are different kind of improvised weapons. Everything from just an acid bomb or alchemist fire to hurling a basket of centipedes to go out at people. And the Kobold Scale Sorcerers. This is just a kobold with a... it's a sorcerer, basically. It has spells up to 2nd level, and it even has meta magic. Kored is a weird little dwarfish-like fey creature that its beard hair, whatever cuts its beard hair, the hair turns into that metal, or whatever it was used. Like, if you cut this with a pair of mithril scissors, its hair turns into mithril strands that you can then weave into ropes or what have you. A Lucrota is this is another Yeenoghu-type creature, this kind of weird hyena dog creature, challenge rating 3, nothing crazy. They can mimic... voices. The Meanlock, which sort of looks like... I was hoping to see something about an Umber Hulk, but they basically look like a baby Umber Hulk. They're small size, they're a fey creature, they have a fear aura, and they can teleport. Then we get to the Mind Flayers. This is super exciting. We've got the Alhun Mind Flayer. This is an undead Mind Flayer right here. Challenge rating 10. It's got spellcasting abilities. Can't suck out your brain, but it does have spells. Then we have the Illithalich, I think is how you pronounce it. This is a Mind Flayer that reaches Lichdom, and these things are challenge rating 22. They're insane. They can extract your brain. They have spell casting. It's crazy. Just awesome stuff. Then we have the lair actions and lair abilities of an Illithid Elder Brain. Again, crazy stuff going on there. A challenge rating 14 on the Elder Brain. Ton of legendary actions. And then there's the Uthalarid, I guess is how you would pronounce it. It's a specific, very rare type of Illithid that grows 6 tentacles that are longer. Its tentacles have a reach of 10 feet rather than 5 feet, and it has 6 of them for your brain extraction. It finds sharing leadership with an Elder Brain to be insufferable. It breaks off from the colony, taking its own group of Mind Flayers with it. Then there's the ever popular bag of Nope, the Mind Witness. When Illithids are able to subdue a beholder and convert it into a Mind Witness. There's the Morkoth, which is just, again, more nightmare fuel. Look at that thing. Ugh. This also has a lair. This is an aberration of challenge rating 11. It is not tied specifically to any other type of race. It's not Illithid. I thought it might have been, but it seems to just kind of be its own thing. Just a ravenous carnivore that travels the plains. Has hypnosis and spell reflection. Neogi are hateful slavers. They're freaking weird, man. Look at these little guys. Look at that. I don't even know what you call that. A spider snake thing? I don't know. They're tiny. Tiny aberrations. Challenge rating an 8th. Then there's what was that? A hatchling. The regular ones are small size, challenge rating 3, and then there's the master, challenge rating 4. There's the Neolithid, which is this thing, which is also terrifying. What that is I showed you this Cerebromorphosis, which is the little like Mind Flayer slug that looks like the Wrath of Khan ear slug things. Those things grow in the pool of the Elder Brain, and they're taken out to put in humanoid creatures to transform them into Mind Flayers. This is what happens when the Elder Brain is killed and the colony is destroyed, and one of those tadpoles starts eating the other tadpoles and just continues to grow unchecked. It transforms into this gargantuan aberration with a challenge rating of 13. It has the ability to levitate at will, resistance to magic, 15-foot reach tentacles, and acid breath. It's just all sorts of nasty. Then we have a Nilbog. This is it's goblin spelled backwards. This is a goblin that's basically possessed by a trickster type of demon. Or it's a trickster god, rather, that Magoobliet, when he tried to slay all of the other goblin deities to become the true goblin deity. There's a whole lot of lore on this, but they basically can cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter at will. Things like that, Vicious Mockery. A couple of new orcs. We've got an Orc Blade of Ilnaval, which it can use a action to command up to 3 allied orcs to use their reaction to make a weapon attack, which is pretty powerful. Sort of a warlord style thing. And the Orc Claw of Luthic is an Orc Cleric. And there's the Orc Hand of Urturus, which is, again, looks like another kind of Orc Cleric. And the Orc Nurtured one of Urturus. This, I believe, is this one here with the kind of, whatever that thing is from Left 4 Dead that blows up on you. And then there's the Orc Red Fang of Shargas. That's just another orc that can cast Darkness, challenge rating 3. There's a lot of lore on these. Looks like these ones ride bats. That's pretty cool. Then we have a Tanaruk, which is a Duronic corruption of a tribe's leadership. This is a demon corrupted orc. Look at that guy. Pretty crazy. So yeah. Orcs might turn to abyssal magic to make Tanaruks, evil humans who control orcs. Demon Lord Baphomet gladly shares the secret of creating those with those who would treat with him, so it kind of looks like Baphomet. And you got Quicklings, these little guys over here. These are little Fae. Their speed is 120 feet. I want to point that out. Their normal speed. They have evasion, blurred movement. They're not too crazy. They make dagger attacks, but they're just super fast. Red caps. These are traditional kind of fey creatures here. You got a red cap. Nothing crazy. Disadvantage. They got a sickle, and yeah, nothing too crazy. Challenge rating 3. You got a sea spawn, which is kind of this weird sea creature of the Black Lagoon type guy. And they just kind of take on some sort of fish-like quality, whether it's a bite, poison quills, or tentacles. Shadow Mastiffs are pretty badass. This could be a really cool thing if you have like an evil campaign, or you make a good one that your DM allows you to create or summon. Challenge rating 2, they do have weakness in sunlight, but they can blend into shadows and turn invisible. They can see ethereal creatures, and they just have a bite attack. They're pretty neat. Summoned for service, typically by worshippers of Shar, things like that. The Slithering Tracker, which is probably the most terrifying looking ooze that I've ever seen. Again, got an ooze. I didn't think we'd get any oozes in this book. They are sort of a vengeance assassin type creature. Spawn of Caius. This is an undead. These are kind of wormy, planty, nasty looking undead. Yeah, plague worms. Yeah, so Spawn of Caius are expressions of Orcus' intent to replace all life with death. Tlinkali are scorpion folk. Sort of like a centaur, but a scorpion. What else do we got here? Trapper. This is sort of like a cloaker, but it's like a shadow that smothers people. Then there's I always call them Varaguli. I don't know how you pronounce them, but they're terrifying. They look like that. Oops. They're basically a fiend that when it kisses its enemy, if it fails the saving throw and the curse doesn't advance while the target is in the area of direct sunlight, but basically after a while it will lose a point of charisma an hour until its head takes on a fiendish shape, and eventually if it's not cured or removed by remove curse or greater restoration, your head pops, your ears grow to wings, your head separates itself from your body in a fountain of blood, and your head leaves your body and is now a Varaguli in and of itself. Vegapygmies. These are small little pygmy plant creatures. And they do have a thorny, which looks like this is sort of like a... yeah, I don't know. They're pretty neat looking guys. They got like little dog creatures. Vegapygmies. Pretty neat. We got a Woodwode, which is like a wood eternal guardian type person. Another plant. There's some lore behind them about people that have basically given up their lives to protect the forest. They could become those. And there's Exvarts. These little weird blue guys. Blue guys with orange eyes here. They are humanoids. Nothing crazy. Yethhounds. Again, another classic D&D monster that I remember from years past. Another, is this a Nagu thing? Who grants these? Granted by powerful Fey individuals to those who please them. Challenge rating 4. Then we've got some awesome new Yuan-ti. Check out this Anathema. Yuan-ti with 6 snake heads or 7 snake heads. Crazy. Challenge rating 12 with some spellcasting. And then the Yuan-ti Broodguard. This guy, not very, less snake-like, more brute type. The Yuan-ti Mind Whisperer, which is sort of the Scion Yuan-ti here with the Cobra kind of style, and then the Yuan-ti Nightmare Speaker here. It's kind of a shamanist type chick. And she's got, again, some more kind of warlock spellcasting. And then We've seen this guy already, but the Yuan-Ti Pitmaster, who's got the snake arms. And then we've got some new creatures. We've got Aurochs, which are basically sort of buffalo-type creatures here. Okay. Cows, random. Dolphins, and a swarm of rot grubs. The only reason I feel like that's here is because that's one of the things kobolds can throw at you. Then, I'm going to kind of skip through these, but we've got an Abjurer. We've got basically different kinds of wizards. Level 9 wizard, we've got an Abjurer. Apprentice wizard. Archdruid, level RCR 12. Archer, which is cool because this Archer had a neat ability. Archer's Eye, 3 times per day. As a bonus action, the Archer adds a D10 to its next attack or damage roll with a longbow or shortbow. That might not be a cool ability to add to a magic item. Bard, Taunt, twice per day. The Bard can use a bonus action on its turn to target one creature within 30 feet. If the target can hear the Bard, the target must make a DC 12 Charisma saving throw, or have disadvantage on ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws until the start of its next turn. So it's like an improved Bardic Inspiration. Blackguards, this is a Fallen Paladin, challenge rating 8. They have the dreadful aspect of Frighten ability. Let's see what else we got here. Champion. This is just a fighter, champion fighter. Conjurer, challenge rating 6. Diviner, Enchanter. Challenge Diviner is 8, Enchanter's 5. Evoker, 9, Illusionist 3. The Kraken Priest. You can use the Voice of the Kraken ability. Martial Arts Adept, which is a monk. Master Thief, which is a rogue. Necromancer, challenge rating 9. Swashbuckler. Transmuter, challenge rating 5. A War Priest as well, which is a War Cleric. Warlock of the Archfey, Warlock of the Fiend, Warlock of the Great Old One, and then a Warlord, which again has that ability that the Orc and the other kind of statted Orc had. Command Ally, the Warlord targets one ally within 30 feet of it. If the target can see or hear the Warlord, it makes a weapon attack as a reaction and gains advantage on the roll. It also regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn if it has at least 1 hit point, but fewer than its half its maximum. Challenge rating 12 on the Warlord. And then you've got your monster creatures by type. Aberrations, Beasts, Celestials, Dragons, Elemental, Fey, Fiend, Giant, Humanoid, Monstrosity, Ooze, Plant, Undead. And then your challenge rating, we've got 0. I'll go through the ones that we have. 0, an eighth, a quarter, half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 22. And then they also have by environment: Arctic, coastal, desert, hill, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, underdark, underwater, urban. There you go, guys. That's what's new in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Only an hour and 7 minutes in. Again, hopefully you guys go and pick this up. Let me know what you think. I saw some people commenting on other of my videos saying, is it me or does this look like a flop compared to Tome of Beasts? If you picked up Tome of Beasts, let me know what you think. Is this better? Is this worse? I tend to think Tome of Beasts is great. Don't get me wrong. I do love Kobold Press and I love Tome of Beasts, but this is an official source, first of all. Official source means Adventure League legal. It is also giving you player races, whereas Tome of Beasts does not. Granted, Kobold Press's other documents do. Midgard Heroes, Southland Heroes, Unlikely Heroes. Those all do give you character options, but again, they're Kobold Press's take on them. They're not the one true source, which would be Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, be on the lookout. I'm in the process of putting together my 1,000 subscriber video, and there might just be a giveaway. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.